Hey, the 1492 guy. How sparsely populated was this hemisphere? I mean, there was a few people just running around in the woods with their diaper on, and we came over here and kind of rescued them, didn't we? Taught them how to do agriculture. We gave them everything in Western civilization. I mean, they should be thankful, right? This pristine wilderness was here. I mean, we were kind of lucky. It was pristine wilderness. Well, of course, I'm just being silly with all that stuff. The population in the Western Hemisphere was around 100 million, settling in at around 100 million, ever increasing estimates on that, probably heading closer to 140 million when all is said and done, since they can discover new civilizations now by combining laser technology with aerial flyovers, and they're discovering new civilizations periodically. Population in Europe in 1492, around 70 million people. Of course, a lot of the records were destroyed in the Western Hemisphere, so it's a lot more difficult to come up with exact populations. Certainly the largest city in the Western Hemisphere, Tenochtitlan, ranging 250,000 to 300,000. I saw 400,000 in a little kid's book about the West. It wasn't about the Western Hemisphere. It was just about Mexico, I believe. That was interesting. So around 70 million in Europe and around 100 million in the Western Hemisphere. So the pristine wilderness myth is very convenient because it gives this impression that the land was mostly empty. Yeah, there were some people here, but it was mostly empty, and we weren't really taking it from anybody. Well, all the land was accounted for. All the land was taken. The 3,500 peoples that lived in the Western Hemisphere, in general, they knew where their territory began and ended. They had definite territories. Yes, the populations were not huge. Now, especially in the north, as you get up into in the United States, especially into Canada, and toward the south, Patagonia, Tierra del Fuego, and those places, yes, the populations were less dense. And I find that that leads in the north into this thinking, the Stone Age tribespeople fallacies can come into play in that aspect. Well, there's not many people now. It mostly is just wilderness, in fact, today. What I find is that the techniques that are used to marginalize, to diminish the accomplishments and what existed prior to 1492, it's no different than what's used in the areas where there were a lot, what you could call a lot more advanced things going on, the hospitals and the brain surgery and the larger populations and the densest populated place on earth, and some of these types of things that we associate more with, like, wow, that's closer to today's civilization in terms of some of the advancements. Well, in those areas, the indigenous are treated the same way. They're just backwards type of people, and they really didn't do much. Not much was accomplished before 1492. So in those moments when I say, well, there really wasn't much populations here. They didn't have a long growing season in the north, and what were they really doing to contribute to gifts to the world and that? But I know that there's a contiguousness to all of the peoples of the Western Hemisphere, and they shared many, many things. So when I'm attempting to fall into that trap, I remind myself that the Amazon and the Andes and parts of Central America, where there was a lot of more advanced, like unbelievable things going on, that yes, those spread throughout the entire hemisphere. And yes, in those areas, the indigenous are treated the same way, even though all those things were going on. In fact, anthropologists for a long time always wanted to give this impression that this were some ancient cultures, not something that was there in 1492 when Europeans came and started wiping out the civilizations. We would like it to harken back to some earlier ancient peoples who managed to accomplish all these amazing things. And anthropologists have fed into that tremendously, and although they may be changing now, takes a long time to change things. The historians feed off the anthropologists, and the educators feed off the historians. And to get these books changed and to get what the educators are doing altered, it takes a long time, takes generations. Even when they're going at what they think would be lightning speed, like now, it's very hard to get some of these basic ideas changed. So there's your pristine wilderness. See you next time. Signing off.